Beloved, there is a specific kind of poison that enters the bloodstream when someone wounds you deeply, and then walks away unscathed. It is not just the pain of the betrayal itself. It is the silence that followed. The way they moved on with their life while you were left picking up the shattered pieces of your trust. The way they smiled in photographs, started new relationships, built new successes, all while carrying the secret of what they did to you. And you were left with the bill. The therapy bills. The sleepless nights. The trust issues that now infect every new connection you try to form. You watched them win, while you were still bleeding. You watched them celebrate, while you were still grieving the version of yourself that existed before they damaged her. And perhaps the deepest cut of all was the feeling that God must have looked away. That somehow, in the vast machinery of the universe, your pain was too small to register. That their actions, their lies, their cruelty, had slipped through the cracks of divine justice. You prayed for confrontation. You prayed for exposure. You prayed for the kind of sudden, public downfall that would prove to the world that you were right, that they were wrong, that karma was real. But the days turned into weeks. The weeks turned into months. And sometimes years passed. And still, they thrived. Though they were liked. Still, they were believed. While you became the difficult one. The one who couldn't just let it go. The one who was still holding on to bitterness. And so you learned to swallow your story. You learned to smile at family gatherings where they were present. You learned to scroll past their posts without commenting. You learned to carry the weight of what they did, like a stone in your chest, that grew heavier with every passing season of their apparent prosperity. But listen to me now, with the ears of your wounded spirit, because what I am about to speak is not a comfort to pacify you. It is a warning to prepare you. God says, the person who hurt you is about to face what they did. Not eventually. Not someday in a distant spiritual reckoning. But imminently. The machinery of heaven, which sometimes moves with the patience of glaciers, has suddenly shifted gears. And the very thing they thought they buried is about to be resurrected in broad daylight. You must understand something about the nature of divine justice. It does not operate on your schedule, because it is not merely interested in punishing them. It is interested in perfecting you. And there is a profound difference between vengeance and vindication. Vengeance is hot, immediate, and often destroys the vessel that tries to carry it. Vindication is surgical, precise, and arrives at the exact moment when its revelation will cause the maximum healing and the maximum correction. They have been living in a false peace. A peace built on the assumption that you were the only witness, that their secrets were safe, that time had eroded the evidence of their guilt. But they forgot, or perhaps they never knew, that the eyes of the Lord are not bound by statutes of limitations. He has been recording, not just their actions, but the intentions behind them, not just the wound they inflicted, but the casual way they dismissed your humanity afterward. And now, the books are opening. But before God moves fully on your behalf, there is something He needs you to release. And this may be the hardest thing you have ever been asked to do. He is asking you to forgive them, not for their sake, for yours. I know how that feels to hear. I know the resistance that just rose inside your chest. I know that every part of your wounded heart wants to reject that word because forgiveness feels like it means what they did was acceptable. It feels like you are excusing their behavior. It feels like you are handing them a victory they do not deserve. But that is not what forgiveness means. Forgiveness does not mean what they did was okay. Forgiveness does not mean you have to trust them again. Forgiveness does not mean you must open the door and let them back into your life. Forgiveness does not mean you pretend the wound never happened. Forgiveness means you are choosing to stop letting their actions control your internal world. Because here is what nobody told you about unforgiveness. It does not punish the person who hurt you. It punishes you. Every single day that you carry bitterness toward them, you are drinking poison and hoping they feel the effect. but they do not feel it. They are living their life. They are sleeping at night. They are eating their meals. They may not even think about what they did to you anymore. But you think about it. You think about it in the morning when something triggers the memory. You think about it at night when the house is quiet and your mind begins to replay scenes you wish you could delete forever. You think about it when you meet new people and realize that your ability to trust has been damaged by someone who is no longer even present in your life. They left the wound and walked away. But you stayed behind and kept reopening it every time you refused to release them from the court of your heart. God is not asking you to forgive them because they deserve it. He is asking you to forgive them because you deserve to be free. You deserve to sleep without their face haunting your thoughts. You deserve to wake up without the first emotion of your day being anger towards someone who is not even in the room. You deserve to walk into your next season without dragging the chains of your last one behind you. And forgiveness is the key that unlocks those chains. Not their apology. Not their acknowledgement. Not their confession. Your forgiveness. Because your healing was never dependent on their repentance. If it were, God would be handing control of your future to the very person who tried to destroy it. And He would never do that to you. Your healing is between you and God alone. And the moment you choose to release them, something will shift inside you that years of anger could never produce. A weight will lift from your shoulders that you did not even realize you were still carrying. A tightness in your chest will loosen. A fog in your mind will begin to clear. And for the first time in a long time, you will feel like you can finally breathe again. That is not weakness. That is the most powerful thing a wounded soul can do. Because anyone can hold a grudge. Anyone can replay the offense. Anyone can fantasize about revenge. But it takes a strength that most people will never possess to look at the person who nearly destroyed you and say, I release you. Not because you earned it, but because God told me that my future is more important than my fury. And the moment those words leave your spirit, heaven responds. Not slowly, not eventually, immediately. Because forgiveness unlocks the very justice you have been waiting for. As long as you hold the case in your own hands, God allows you to carry it. But the moment you hand it over to Him completely, the moment you truly let go of your right to repay them, God picks up the case Himself. And His version of justice is nothing like yours. Your version of justice is limited by what you can see, what you can prove, what you can say. But God's version of justice reaches into places you cannot access. It touches areas of their life you could never reach. It speaks to their conscience at 3 a.m. when no one else is around. It removes peace from their spirit in ways that no external success can compensate for. It creates an emptiness inside them that every achievement, every relationship, every distraction fails to fill. Not because God is vindictive, but because truth has a weight that the human soul was never designed to suppress forever. And the truth of what they did to you has been pressing against their spirit since the day it happened, whether they show it or not. Some of them have already begun to feel it. Some of them are already experiencing the quiet consequences of their choices. The relationship they thought would replace you has not brought them the peace they expected. The success they chased after leaving you behind feels hollow in ways they cannot explain. The happiness they display publicly disappears the moment they are alone with their own thoughts. And they do not understand why. But you do. Because you know that there is a God who does not ignore the prayers of the brokenhearted. You know that there is a justice system operating above human courts that does not require evidence, witnesses, or arguments. It only requires truth. And the truth of what they did has been entered into the record of heaven since the very moment it happened. Nothing has been overlooked. Nothing has been dismissed. Nothing has been forgotten. And now, the case is moving forward. Not on your timeline. On God's. And God's timing, beloved, does not just deliver justice. It delivers justice at the exact moment when it will produce the deepest understanding in both your heart and theirs. There is a trap that will be set for you in the coming days, and you must be spiritually sober enough to recognize it. When the consequences of their actions finally catch up to them, when the facade cracks and the people they have been performing for suddenly see behind the mask, they are going to panic. And in that panic, they will look for a savior. They will look for someone who has a history of giving them grace they did not earn. They will look for someone who has a track record of absorbing their toxicity and calling it love. They will look for you. They will come back with a sudden revelation of your worth. They will come back with an apology that sounds incredibly self-aware, perfectly rehearsed, and desperately sad. They will tell you that you were the only one who ever truly understood them, that they have realized the massive mistake they made, that the universe is punishing them because they hurt the one pure thing in their life. And if you are not anchored deeply in the truth of what God has done for you during the separation, your empathy will betray you. You will be tempted to reach into the fire of their consequences and pull them out. You will be tempted to bandage the very hands that broke you. This is exactly why God delayed their harvest until now. If their reckoning had happened a year ago, or even 6 months ago, while you were still desperate for their validation, you would have rescued them from the very lesson heaven was trying to teach them. You would have interrupted the divine correction. You would have taken their karma onto your own shoulders, again. God had to wait until your trauma bond was broken. He had to wait until the addiction to their approval was fully flushed from your system. He had to wait until you healed enough to look at their tears and feel compassion, without feeling responsibility. You are no longer their emotional paramedic. You are no longer the dumping ground for their unresolved darkness. You must understand what their punishment actually looks like. You might be expecting a spectacular, public downfall. You might be waiting to see them lose their job, their status, or their new relationships in a dramatic explosion. And while God may choose to expose them publicly, often, the most severe divine justice is entirely invisible to the naked eye. Their true punishment is their own mind. You thought they won because they walked away smiling. But a smile is just a movement of facial muscles. It tells you nothing about the state of a person's soul. Do you know what it feels like to live in a house built on lies? You can never truly rest. You sleep with one eye open, wondering which brick will be the one to give way. They are losing their peace. They cannot trust anyone around them, because they know exactly how easily a person can look someone in the eye, promise them loyalty, and betray them, because they did it to you. Their punishment is the paranoia they must live with. Their punishment is the hollow, echoing emptiness they feel when the room gets quiet and the crowds go home. They are surrounded by people, but they are profoundly, devastatingly alone, because they know that the people clapping for them are clapping for a ghost, a character, an illusion. No one loves the real them, because they have not allowed the real them to exist. On the other hand, have been bleeding out in the open. You've been crying honest tears. You have been doing the grueling, unglamorous work of healing a heart you didn't break. And because you faced your pain with truth, your peace is returning. Real peace. The kind of peace that doesn't need to be posted on social media to be real. The kind of peace that lets you sleep deeply through the night. The scales of justice are tipping, beloved. The weight of their deception is becoming too heavy for them to carry. And the universe is orchestrating a moment where they will be forced to look in the mirror and acknowledge exactly what they are. When that moment happens, you might not even be in the room. You might not get the satisfaction of seeing the look on their face. But you will feel the shift in the atmosphere. You will feel a sudden, inexplicable lifting of the heaviness you have been carrying for so long. A chain is going to snap in the spiritual realm. And the energy they stole from you, the confidence they drained from you, the joy they hijacked, is going to be returned to you with interest. But you must pass this final test. When you hear that they are struggling, when the grapevine brings you news of their downfall, When they finally send that message asking to talk, you must not gloat. You must not celebrate their destruction. And above all, you must not lower your vibration by re-entering the arena to fight a battle that God has already won for you. This is the final phase of your healing, and the final phase of their reckoning. You have been waiting for closure. You thought closure meant an apology. You thought closure meant them sitting across from you, looking into your eyes and validating the pain they caused. But God says, I am giving you a closure that requires nothing from them. Closure is not an agreement between two people. Closure is a door that you close from the inside, turn the lock, and throw the key into the deepest part of the ocean. You do not need their confession to confirm your reality. You do not need their remorse to rebuild your worth. The justice they are about to face is not the end of your story, it is merely the closing of their chapter in your life. Listen to the Spirit speaking to you right now. The person who hurt you is a lesson you have already mastered. You passed the test. You survived the shattering. You walked through the valley of betrayal and you did not let it turn you into the very monster that wounded you. That is your victory. That is your vindication. While they are entering the season of their consequences, you are entering the season of your compensation. The energy you spent surviving them is now going to be redirected into building you. The doors that were blocked while you were tied to their chaotic frequency are beginning to swing wide open. You are about to meet people who do not speak the language of deception. You are about to experience relationships where you do not have to translate your boundaries into apologies. You are about to enter rooms where your sensitivity is seen as a superpower, not a weakness to be exploited. But to walk into this new dimension, you must drop the weapons you have been carrying. You have been standing guard, expecting another attack, waiting for the other shoe to drop. You have been mentally rehearsing the arguments you would have if you ever saw them again. You have been fighting ghosts in your mind. God says, put the sword down. The battle is no longer yours. In fact, it never was. Vengeance belongs to the Creator, and He handles His property with absolute perfection. Let them face the whirlwind they created. Let them reap the seeds they planted. Let them experience the stark, unbending reality of divine justice. Your assignment is entirely different now. Your assignment is joy. Your assignment is success. Your assignment is living a life so fully, so unapologetically, so beautifully aligned with your purpose, that the memory of what they did fades into an irrelevant footnote in the masterpiece of your biography. The greatest revenge is not seeing them suffer. The greatest revenge is your complete and total indifference to their existence. The moment you realize that their name no longer triggers a spike in your heart rate, the moment you realize that you haven't checked their social media in months, and you have no desire to start now, the moment you realize that you actually feel a profound, detached pity for the dark and lonely road they have chosen to walk, that is the moment you have truly won. And that moment is arriving for you right now. Take a deep breath. Inhale the future that is rushing toward you. Exhale the toxic dust of their memory. You are clean. You are clear. You are free. The person who hurt you is stepping into the shadow of what they did. But you, beloved, you are stepping into the light. And nothing and no one will ever be able to dim your radiance again.